You might, you kind of slumped over there. And if you're going to button the jacket, you might want to button that next.
Stand by.
And open the top one because it's buckled.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Ford, the host of the Business Computing Show. And tonight, our guest is Anthony Amos, who's the owner and chief educator of Amos Education and Consulting Services. Thank you for being with us tonight, Anthony.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. And we're talking about malicious software. And you're really not an information technology professional. So before we get started, we kind of need to validate your credentials. What led you to start doing things on your computer that most normal, what we call normal people don't do? A lot of people who use computers every day, they don't want to do anything but sit down at it and work at it. They don't want to work on it. What got you started working on computers?
I've always been interested in electronics, especially computers. Since I've been a child, I've actually opened up and tried to see what's inside the box. So lately what I've been doing is just going out and just buying computer parts, and I've done various things from the hardware perspective. But over the last couple of years, maybe last 2 years, I've tried to get into the software aspect of it, and I've had some problems with computers myself. So that's what led me into what I'm doing now.
And I'm sure the expense of taking a computer in to get it worked on had a little to do with it as well.
Well, expense is always a big issue. I'm always been the kind of person that would like to just get out and fix my own problems, so that's what led me to just going out and doing the research, and hopefully I've come up with some good ways of saving myself a little bit of money.
Well, good. And your going out and doing that is also going to benefit our listeners tonight as well. So we want to talk about malicious software or malware. Can you tell us what it is? What is malware?
Well, just thinking about the name kind of says a lot. Malware or malicious software is one of those things that a lot of listeners may not be aware of, may not understand the whole dynamics of what it does to a system. But actually it's programs that basically are created by people that for some reason may want to make money, may want to destroy or damage a person's computer, and they're basically just programs that they put out there that basically does a lot of damage and cause a lot of hardship to computer owners.
And what's the difference between malware and viruses?
Well, malware and viruses, the basic difference is that, as you may know, viruses have been out there a long time. It's something that we've heard about at least for the last 5 to 6 years. Malware, to some degree, is a real new term. Most listeners may not have heard about it probably within the last year or so, if then. So the real difference is basically what they do.
And so what's the difference between what they do? I mean, is malware, is it bad, or is it just...
Well, I guess it depends upon the problem. If you're someone that's sitting there and you want to use your system and it slows the system down and it prevents you from being able to do the kind of work that you're trying to do as far as typing a paper or something of that nature, then it would be bad. But for the most part, viruses, usually if you don't take care of them in a general good period of time, it will send you to a repair person.
Okay, so malware is more of an annoyance, and a virus could actually basically kill your computer.
Exactly.
Okay, so is it difficult to get rid of malware if you get it?
It's not real difficult if you're diligent and you're really interested in solving the problem for yourself. For the average computer user, if you do searches on the internet, if you know anything about computers and you do a good deal of study about it, I guarantee you can solve the problem for yourself.
So, well, how does a computer get infected with malware?
Well, usually if you're one of those kind of people that like to just try programs, and I used to be that way, and that's what led me into discovering some of the solutions for myself. I would sometimes put programs into my system that I really didn't understand, didn't know what they would do. And I realized over time, maybe a good week or so, that I had a problem that I couldn't deal with, which was the malware.
What kinds of programs were these? You know, are they programs that probably most people might use, or things that are obscure that are only specialty type programs?
Sometimes there are programs that the average person would use. I would sometimes try to find documents on the internet. I would look at programs like iMesh, and sometimes I would even install games on the computer, which would sometimes have the malware installed or within it.
What about file sharing type programs, you know, where people download and install these programs to download music?
I think that's probably one of the trickiest programs. I think that you stand a chance of infecting your computer with a malware if you do decide to do the sharing programs.
So will antivirus software get rid of malware?
Now, when I did my research about the subject, what I realized, and I didn't really know this as a novice, is that many of the antivirus programs or developers didn't really take notice to a lot of the malicious software initially. But now they have decided to do something about it. They've, at some point, have decided to add extra components to the software to make sure that it does at least scan. Some of the antivirus programs will do that. But on average, you have to look very, very careful and be real meticulous about the software that you do purchase in order to get rid of some of that adware.
Okay, well, do I have to purchase software to get rid of it?
Now, a guy being a miser of my standard, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It depends upon your level of understanding about the whole idea about malware. If it's something that you feel overwhelmed about and you feel afraid about going onto the internet and downloading another program, then it may be to your best advantage to purchase a product if you feel safe in that method. But there is some free software out there.
Okay, how would I find the free software?
For the average PC user, places like PC Mall, Download.com are some places that you can actually go, not just malware software, but you can also find some other great programs that can also help and keep your system running in a pretty decent shape.
Now, I understand that, like, at Download.com, they say that if you download from them, you won't get spyware in the software that you download. Have you found that to be true?
I found that to be true. It's a pretty good guarantee for me as a computer user, someone that it's expensive to go out and have someone repair the system. I would prefer to have a guarantee, and I think that from every program I've ever used from Download.com, it has had that guarantee.
And how do I find the software once I get to Download.com? How do I find what I need?
Well, with Download.com, just as it is with most internet sites where you can, browsers where you can go out and actually locate and research to find information about various programs, they often have them in either in alphabetical order, or they have it based on the specific issue that you're trying to identify the problem for.
Okay, and so now there are different types of malware, is that correct?
That's correct.
So let's just take a look at them and see if we can try to tell the difference between, so that our viewers, when they'll know what they're looking for. When the computers are doing certain things, they will know that they have malware. You won't just go out and buy a whole new computer, because then it is fixable, right?
That's correct.
So I've got a list of some types, so maybe as I call them off, you can kind of tell me what the basic characteristics are,
okay,
what they do. Adware.
Well, adware is probably one of the more popular malicious software programs. And it basically is self-explanatory. When you see the word adware, you can basically say that it's a program that at times when you're trying to search for a particular subject on the internet, there's a pop-up that comes up, and it's about an advertisement either for a product or either for some other type of software.
Now, why would someone want to put adware on my computer?
Basically, to make money. For the most part, it's an easy way to advertise the product. So if they can actually get it out there for more viewers to see it, then it's easier to make money and sell a product.
Okay, what about spyware?
With spyware, I often think about the whole Spygate and spy issue, and it takes me to the point to where it tells you that someone is tearing or going through your information without your permission. So spyware is basically programs that actually hide themselves within your system, and sometimes there's a third party out there that's waiting on various information, whether it's credit information, tax information, basically trying to spy and find out more about you so they can pass the information on to actually benefit from that as well.
So spyware is really a danger in terms of identity theft as well.
Exactly.
What about hijackers?
Well, hijackers, it basically does what hijackers do. It actually gets into your computer system, your registry, and it actually gets in there and gets so deep that it actually can redirect what you're trying to do. Sometimes if you're on a search engine and you're trying to find a particular subject, it can actually redirect you to something totally different if you accidentally maybe hit the wrong key.
Okay, now you mentioned the registry, and I know sometimes when I'm on the computer and I see ads on certain pages and they talk about registry cleaners. Can you tell me just a little bit about what the registry does and why it's important for it to be clean?
Well, the registry basically keeps up with a lot of the information that the computer takes within. It takes in a lot of the information that actually helps this computer operate, as far as keeping track of programs, keeping track of various things that occur during the course of a day in a computer. And the reason why it's real important to make sure that you keep it clean is basically it speaks to your operating system. And what it does, it prevents crashes, it prevents any kind of problem from stopping your computer from operating at its optimum level.
Okay, and so if some of this malicious software has put itself in the registry, why is that not a good thing?
Well, it's not a good thing because what will eventually stop your computer from operating properly. You'll sometimes get the pop-ups that say, well, a free registry cleaner, or your registry needs to be clean in order for this program to operate. And if you don't have a clean registry, it's likely that you won't have a fully functioning computer.
Okay. Now, and I've digressed a little bit from the list of malware programs because we talked a little bit about the registry. And when you talk about the programs showing up saying that, you know, you need your registry clean, can I trust all of those programs that say they're registry cleaners?
Usually not. And I think it's the same advice that I give for most softwares that you purchase in order to make sure that your computer stays up to speed. You basically have to be real careful. You have to do your research, go with sometimes the tried and true products.
Or maybe just go to download.com, and that way we know, or one of those other, like cnet.com, I believe as well, right, is another one where we can go and feel pretty secure about what we're downloading.
Exactly.
What about toolbars?
Well, toolbars are actually or malicious software that actually goes in and it actually mimics or tries to replace actual real toolbars. You have search engines like Google. It may try to mimic or it's sort of counterfeit, basically what it is. And it tries to do, it actually works with the hijack program or sometimes the spyware program. Actually, it'll allow you to be able to interface or use or get into a situation in which you're comfortable putting information in, and it's actually taking information in order to allow some of those other malicious software programs to actually be installed into your system.
Okay. And what about dialers? What's a dialer? Well,
dialers are programs primarily used for the purpose, and it's based on financial gain as well, where you'd have a person, a third-party person that's actually out there that's actually linked to your system, and he's actually using your computer and your resources to actually place usually 1-900 calls. And at the end of the day, he won't have to pay for the service, and you'll end up getting
the bill. And I end up paying for
the
it.
bill, exactly.
Okay, now keyloggers. I've heard about keyloggers. What's a keylogger?
Now, keyloggers is probably one of those things that probably makes the average worker fearful, because we often think that you're at work and you're typing on your computer and your boss is somewhere looking at your keystrokes, making sure that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. But those type of programs actually are there to kind of get a gauge of what you're doing. It actually records every keystroke that you make, and at the same time, what it also does is it gets a gauge of the type of website you go to, the type of information that you're putting into the system, and it also can be an identity theft issue as well.
Okay, so all of these different types of malware are basically malicious software looking at what I'm doing to do me harm.
Exactly.
So why is it important to have a clean machine?
Well, having a clean machine is just like having a clean body. If you can listen to or just think about some of the terms that's used in the whole process of the computer industry, most of it mimics the human body. And if you don't have a clean body, then you don't have a healthy body. If you don't have a clean system, a clean computer, registry or operating system, then you don't have a fully functioning computer.
Okay, I think we've gotten a pretty good understanding of what malware is. So we're going to come back after these messages and talk about some things we can do to prevent malware.
Okay.
It was a dinner party. I wish there was a way we could do those faster.
I got an idea. Let's go crack open your computer and take out some of the high speed. Holy.
The Comcast Advantage is here. One company, one amazing price, one reliable network. Add Comcast Digital Voice for just $33 per month for 12 months. Enjoy unlimited nationwide calling, 12 popular calling features, plus voicemail with web access. Review your account online and keep your current phone number. Save on Comcast Digital Voice with the Comcast Advantage. Call 259-1400 today.
Think 3 times the value with Comcast. Add 2 great services for just $33 each per month for 12 months. Comcast high-speed internet with McAfee security and now Power Boost. Plus, Comcast Digital Voice with unlimited nationwide calling and 12 popular features, each just $33 per month when added to your existing Comcast cable TV service. The Comcast Triple Play. It's a winner. Call 259-1400.
It's simple to switch to Comcast Digital Phone Service. There's no new equipment to buy. You can keep your phone number, even plug into the same wall jack. Your calls are crystal clear, and you get great features like caller ID, voicemail, call waiting, and unlimited local and long-distance calls in the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico. So while the number at the top of your bill doesn't change, this one certainly will. The same great features at a better price. Comcast Digital Phone Service.
And we're back with our guest, Anthony Amos, who is president and owner of Amos Education and Coaching Service, and we're talking about malware and malicious software. So now that we understand what it is and how dangerous it is and why we don't want it, what are some of the things that we can do to keep from getting it on our computers?
Well, I guess the first thing you could do is just basically identify your problem. Usually, within a couple of days of having a problem, then you can kind of gauge to see whether or not it's something that's worth actually going out and trying to resolve. Usually, if you have pop-ups that come up even when you don't have access to the internet, is a good indication that you have some type of malicious software installed within your system. So the first thing is to go out and then after you identify that you have the problem, then it's possible to actually go into a search engine or just go out and do a search on the internet to try to figure out, you can put some keywords in and hopefully try to bring up something that sounds similar to the type of problem that you're having. And once you find out that there is a problem, then it's possible that you can actually go to a tech forum and maybe get some indication based on the conversation there as to what you may be able to do in order to solve your problem.
Okay, so how do I find a tech forum, for my problem? If I realize that I have a problem, say I've managed to figure it out somehow, then how do I find a tech? Well, first of all, how do I know that, once I know that I have a problem, are there any tools that I can use, or, any software that I can use to try to fix the problem?
There are some products that are out there, as we mentioned earlier, that are free. Products like Spybot. It's a product that I've used and I recommend greatly. Hijack, this is another good product. Avest is a good product. There are some products that even you can go to and actually purchase for a little bit of nothing if that's what you want to do based on your comfort level and what you can actually download off the internet. But I would suggest using a product like SpyBot and just give it a try.
And many of these products, I understand, are free. So, and I think at the tech forums, they will recommend a lot of free things to help people save money. So once I say I've installed SpyBot, I've gone to cnet.com or download.com, and I've installed SpyBot on my computer, and I've followed the instructions and I've run it, and it found something, and I tried to clean it up, but it keeps coming back.
Right.
What do I do then?
Well, see, one of the problems you may have run into, sometimes you can actually download programs that are actually primarily just scan. And after you scan it a couple of times and you realize that the problem hadn't been solved, then you get a pop-up that comes up once you've made that final scan that says that you can purchase the full version of the product. and I've ran into that problem a couple of times before. But what I would suggest is just keep searching. As we stated earlier, download is an excellent place to go. And as we stated as well, going to a lot of the tech forums, I think it's pretty easy to actually find one. Actually, after you actually type your information in, usually it'll come up in a couple of seconds, within the first or second page of what you're looking for, and just go in and just type your problem in, and sometimes you'll actually just find the exact answer to your problem.
Okay. Is it possible to not ever get any malware?
There's some possibility that can happen. That's only when you don't turn your computer on at all, or you don't have any internet access. That's basically the only time that you cannot have a problem. But if you're a Reddit user or a person that uses your computer at least an hour, sometimes 15 minutes a day is enough time to actually get your computer infected.
Okay, now these products that we talked about that help us to get rid of the malware, do they also help to prevent malware?
Sometimes it depends on the product that you actually get. Sometimes the only thing that they'll do, some will scan, and some will actually go out and what they call an inoculate, or actually get rid of the product. Some of them will actually, at the same time, be almost like a guard. Sometimes it's just a matter of fact of getting a good firewall. And sometimes there are some product packages out there, programs like Norton and McAfee that's basically been out there probably since computers have been invented, that can actually do a lot of the stuff that we're talking about now.
So now you mentioned firewall. What exactly is a firewall? What does it do? Why would I want one?
Well, firewalls are actually, I guess if you look at it in an imaginary way, it's sort of like a gate or a guarded area that's set up that has a parameter that prevents certain things from actually getting access to your computer, to your registry, to your operating system, and it kind of gives you an opportunity to say, do you want to look at this program, or do you want to look at this file or not? And it's basically a guard.
So it kind of stands as protection between me and the internet, so
right, you're in the outside world.
Okay, now a lot of people stopped using Internet Explorer because they feel that the problem is always with Internet Explorer, and they started using other browsers, and they feel safe from viruses and spyware. Are they safe from viruses and spyware because they no longer use Internet Explorer?
Well, I think anytime a person that wants to do harm to your computer, I think that there's no way you can be safe. I think with every new operating system, any internet browser, Internet Explorer, Opera, basically anything that you come up with, there will be someone that will eventually create something that will actually do harm to that as well.
Okay, but what are some browsers that a person might want to try, so that they can see for themselves?
As I stated, Opera is a pretty good program. I hadn't done a lot of use of it. I've heard a lot of people in the tech industry say that it's a pretty good browser to use.
Okay. And what about Firefox?
Firefox, I hadn't heard a lot about it. I've done a little bit of research on it, not much, but I've always been an Internet Explorer type guy, and some of those other things are fine and good, but it's based on your comfort level with different programs.
Okay. All right, so do I need to have anti-spyware and antivirus software?
I would suggest you do. I suggest that if there's any type of protection that's out there, that you should get it, especially if you've paid a pretty penny to invest in a really good computer system, and you actually need that computer system and that access to the internet to do your work or whatever it is. I would suggest that you have it.
Okay, so we're getting near the end of our show. So just a recap, maybe in a minute or so, just kind of give, for those who may not have tuned in on time, just a really quick synopsis of what malware is and how we can keep it off of our computers.
Okay. Malware is basically short for malicious software. It's something that's somewhat new. It's basically been talked about a great deal over the last 2 years. You got different types. You got adware. You may have some kind of spyware that's on there. You may have either a hijacker program. Those are some of the general ones. But the primary way to protect yourself from it is basically just have the best programs like adware, programs like Norton, and some of those other things out there that basically protect you from the front end.
Okay. Well, I do thank you for coming on tonight, Anthony, and being my guest and talking about spyware and adware, because this is very interesting. Are there other things that you do with computers?
Well, as I stated earlier, I like building computers. That's basically the best thing that I can enjoy. It's basically like putting a house together. It's fun. You get the opportunity just to get out there and see what you can create.
Okay, well, maybe on another day we'll have you back to talk about building a computer, because that certainly is another way that a person can save money. And if they don't get that stuff cleaned off of their computer, they may find that they need a new one, huh?
Right, or just put a new hard drive in.
Putting a new hard drive in. Okay, well, malware, spyware, adware, keyloggers, all of that stuff. That's a lot of good information. And the other thing I like is that you are really not in the information technology field, but you know a lot about computers. And I think it's important that people know that they don't have to be an information technology professional to be computer literate. What do you think about that?
I agree. Anything that you invest money in, you need to find out the best way to protect it. And that's what I've done as far as my computer experience.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Anthony Amos of Amos Education and Consulting Service. Do appreciate your coming on, being our guest tonight on the Business Compute In Show. I'm Nancy Ford, the president of the Memphis chapter of BDPA, and I'm your host. I thank you for tuning in and invite you to tune in for our next show.
switch to Comcast Digital Phone Service. There's no new equipment to buy. You can keep your phone number, even plug into the same wall jack. Your calls are crystal clear, and you get great features like caller ID, voicemail, call waiting, and unlimited local and long-distance calls in the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico. So while the number at the top of your bill doesn't change, this one certainly will. The same great features at a better price. Comcast Digital Phone Service.
John, go high speed. It's way faster than DSL. Show 'em. It's a pagoda.
Tell me you have more.